Hi, everybody. So I want to start out with real quick. So I wanted to show you this is your dynamic book. Okay, this is your online textbook. I need you to go to 5.3, which will then take you to this section. And this should look familiar. Okay, so I want to take you, make sure to, my phone is kind of going crazy. There we go. The 5.3 lesson, because I want to talk about translation. So I'm going to hop back out of here and just show you my computer. Okay, and I want to really talk, the piece that I want to pay attention to right here is this, the horizontal stretch or shrink, because I didn't think. So when you look at this box, we've done horizontal translation, we've done vertical translation, we have not done the flip over the x or over the y-axis. We did a flip over the x, and we did vertical stretches or shrinks. So we've done, I would say, over 85% of this table. What we're going to look at is the horizontal stretch or shrink. And notice this right here. So a horizontal stretch means I'm going to stretch it going this way, not up and down. So notice right away that this says a shrink by a factor of 1/3. So right away, notice that we're taking the inverse, okay? And instead of 1/2, we're stretching it by a factor of 2. So the big question is, you might ask, well, why is that? So let's explore that. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to take, and I'm going to that terrible pen. So in one, I'm definitely going to do our, just a real simple, and then I'll do a cube root as well, okay? So f of x equals, let's do our example of 3x, okay? All right, so here we are. We are a square root. Our numbers are 0, 1, and 4, right? So 0, 1, 2. You guys are already good at that. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Remember that when we talk about affecting, or really affecting the when you stop and really think about it, you're affecting the x, right? And one of the first things you need to think about is your slope, your rise over run. I'm just going to check to make sure everybody can see that. Okay, the rise over run. So if you think about rise over run and you're affecting the x, and this is a horizontal translation, okay? If we want to affect the x, when we multiply, we really need to flip, okay? We need to flip, and the x needs to be, so this is a factor of 1/3. Okay, a factor of 1/3. Okay, I think it'll be all right, the shadow. So in this case, the 1/3, I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply all of my x values by 1/3 of the value, because in order to get the x, I need to flip this, okay? So I'm going to come out front And let's see, I'm going to go 1/3 times x. Okay. So this would be 0 still. This would be 1/3. And 1/3 of 4 would be 4/3. Then I'm going to go back. And remember what I did before is I circled. Here's my x values. Here's my y values. Okay. Now, because this is a 3 and this is a shrink by 1/3, all of these are really close together, aren't they? Okay, so 0, 0. 1/3 and 1. 4/3 and 2. So 4/3 would be 1 and 1/3 and 2. Now, you might say, hold on, that does not look like a shrink. But remember, the way you've shrunk it is that you've compacted it this way. Okay? You've compacted it that way a little bit. All right, I can still do domain and range. There was no translation, so I started right here on 0. So my domain is x is greater than 0. And my range started at 0. So my range is y is greater than or equal to 0. Again, if you had a translation here or on the outside, you'd move the whole thing up and over and do all that good stuff. Okay, so the big thing here is, number 1, flip it, and then you multiply the x. Okay, let's do another one. We'll do a cube root, and we're going to do a reflection as well. Okay. So let's do this. F of x equals, we'll do the 1/2. We're going to make it negative, okay? Negative 1/2 x. We'll make it a cube root. Okay? All right. So in this case, let's do our points. Okay? I think the shadow will be all right. Negative 1, 0, and 1, right? All right, negative 1, 0, and 1. So we're using the same points. All right, so right away, my first step, flip this. So let's make it a negative 2, okay? You've got to flip it. Why? Because of the y over x, and I want to affect the x. So in order to do that, I need to flip it the right way, okay? And you might say, okay, wait a minute. But it's got to be the opposite of what you think, okay? The next step is I'm going to, now this is going to be a flip, not a flip over the x-axis, but a flip over the y-axis. So some of you were asking me, is it possible to go the other way? Yes. Now that we have this involved, yes, it can. Okay. But only notice the only way is if we flip it this way. So I'm going to take and I'm going to multiply all of my x values by a negative 2. So here we go. Instead of a negative 1, so we're going to do, this is a positive 2. This is 0. And this would be a negative 2. Remember, this is your snake. They would call this a stretch because I've stretched it across. So it's actually going to probably be a little skinnier. All right, so here we go. 0, 0. 2, -1, and -2, +1. Okay, and I've kind of flipped it over the y-axis this way, not this way. Remember, a flip this way would be like going like this, right? Okay. Not of this. Okay. Nice thing about this, domain and range, all real. This is an arrow. All real, all day, every day. Again, I would normally do these in pencil and then I would translate. So the big thing today, flip, then multiply your X's and make sure you circle which ones you want to use. Okay, all set?